welcome to my channel where learning art is fun. I'm Sarah, and in today's video I'm going to show you how I draw 3D Homer Simpson. And if you guessed from Tuesday's video of the donut drawing that I would be drawing Homer Simpson, then I will be giving your name a shout out at the end of this video.
So how do we make our drawing of Homer look 3D? Well, I'm going to start off by drawing a 2D outline, and I've made a mark about halfway up my page. That's because Homer's head is about the same size as the top of his body. And I'm starting off just by roughing out with my pencil an oval for his head. And then, because we're going to be drawing Homer as a 3D character, I'm doing his head slightly to one side, so slightly on an angle or a 3/4 view. So for his eyes, I've just done those as circles, but as you can see, his right eye is slightly further over to the side than his left, and the same with his mouth. So for the top of his collar on his shirt, I've done an M shape, as you can see here, and then just filled in the collars of the shirt around that. Once I got these details in, it was time to touch up the areas that I'd already drawn and make them look a bit neater, and also fill in Homer's mouth. So at any point, if you need to pause the video, you can do that to catch up if you're drawing at home, or you can also change the speed of the video in the settings on YouTube. So then it was time to draw his body, and his body's fairly simple. We just do two shoulders with curved shapes over to the side, and then bring his arm round in front of his tummy, because in this drawing he is going to be holding not just a donut but also a big slice of cake. So once you've got the main areas of where the donut and the cake are, you can then tidy up and add a few details. So once you're happy with your drawing, it's then time to lighten it up, ready to start colouring it in. And I just used a kneaded eraser for this, but if you haven't got one of those, then you can use a piece of blue tack instead. And then it was time for colouring in. So the process I used for this was to use my markers to just block out the main coloured areas and fill in that tooth of the paper and get some colour down. So I'm not worrying too much about having smooth colouring in, but I am just getting some colour down to block out those main areas. So I just used a yellow marker for his skin and a off green marker for his mouth. And then I used a white colour pencil for the white areas, so that's his eye and his shirt. And as always, it's important if you're using colour pencils to make sure your pencil is sharp to get into the tooth of the paper and make sure it's really nice and even. And if you want to, you can use several layers, or you can use a colourless blender or even baby oil if your paper is suitable, just to make that really even and smooth. So then for the cake and for the donut, again I just used a marker just to block out those brown areas, and a pink marker as well for the icing on the donut. But again, not worrying about shading at this point, we're just blocking out those main colours. So at the moment he still looks very much 2D. So just finishing off with a little bit of blue for the top of his trousers, and we've finished part 1. So now this is a new product for me. I've decided to try out this frisket film, and I've used tracing paper in the past, which you'll see on the donut video. If you haven't seen that, then go and check it out. But this is a little bit more advanced. It's like a sticky film that you can put onto your drawing and then cut out around to protect the drawing from getting any pastel on it, which is the method I use for making my characters and things that I'm drawing look a bit 3D. So you put this film on and then you cut around your character. And then you basically take away the cut off bit, and then you can apply your coloured pastel to put in that shadow without worrying about getting it on your drawing. And the really satisfying part of this is pulling that film off, because you can see that it has protected the drawing from getting any pastel on it, but it doesn't actually take any of the colour that you've put down off either. So it's a really effective way, if not a little bit fiddly, to get those shadows in. And just putting the shadow into the side of Homer there really helps make him look a bit 3D. But if you haven't got any of this film, you can just use tracing paper to protect the part of that you're drawing that you don't want any pastel on. And if you haven't got pastel and you've just decided to use pencil or colour pencil instead, then you won't even need this step. So don't worry if you haven't got anything like that. But putting the shadow in really helps make it look 3D. So once you've done that, then it was time to get our colour pencils out and just add some shading, which will further make Homer look 3D. So it's the addition of shading, shadows and highlights that make your character look 3D. So if you were drawing a 2D object and you were looking at any reference pictures of Homer, you'll notice that a lot of the time he has a black outline around him, which is fine if you want to do a 2D drawing. But if you want to make your drawing look 3D, then you really need to leave this stage out, because you don't want any black outlines around Homer, which would stop it make it look 3D. So you can have darker edges, and you'll notice I'm putting some shading towards the left side of his head, but they're not harsh black outlines. And they transition quite gradually from the darks to the lighter areas. So to make something look 3D, you need to be aware of where the shadows would fall, as well as where the highlights would be. So now I'm just adding some grey around Homer's eyes, and on the top of his mouth. And I'm also adding some grey to his white shirt, concentrating on areas that would be in shadow as well. Those areas would be darker, and the contrast between those darker areas and the white will make it look that much more 3D. And I'm adding some light blue pencil to help transition between those more shaded areas and the white. Once I'd done that, it was then time to add the really dark areas to the underside of the donut and underneath Homer's arm. And I didn't use a black for this, I think it's a really dark brown pencil or a sepia tone. But this really helped to add that contrast and make the drawing really pop because it added a lot of contrast compared to the white, and I think sometimes it can be a bit scary to go that dark, but when you look at your picture it can look really effective. Now I'm just going to add a few more details to the donut. And a little bit of blending with the white pencil and some lilac details as well. Some texture to the cake. And then I'm just going to go in and do a little bit more shading on the left side of Homer's head, because sometimes as you add darker colours you can pick out that you need to add darker areas on other parts of him. So by adding that really dark shading underneath his arm, it kind of highlighted to me that I needed to go quite a bit darker on that left side of his head to kind of keep the picture in balance. So then it was just time to add a few last details. That was with my black fine liner and my white gel pen. And of course not forgetting the two hairs on top of Homer's head. So I hope you've enjoyed this drawing and enjoyed the whole challenge side of guessing who it is I might draw. A big shout out to Jared Hughes, who did guess correctly that Homer Simpson was who I'd be drawing today. And if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, a comment and subscribe to my channel, and join me next week when we would do it all over again. Thanks for watching. Bye.